Suzume is a movie that's been on my watch list for years at this point. I saw a trailer for it before it released and was immediately interested in what it had to offer. Its beautiful animation, amazing visuals, and funny looking chair was enough for me to tap in. Unfortunately, I missed my opportunity to watch it in theaters back in 2022, but I was fortunate enough for the movie to release on streaming at a later date. So with this renewed opening in front of me, I finally seized the chance. 3 years later, that is. I finally sat down and took the plunge into the world of Suzume. I knew next to nothing about it before going in, which was by design. Now I'm asking you as a viewer to take that same plunge with me. Let me introduce you all to Suzume and the beautiful story it has to tell. As always, I reintroduce to you all the titular spoiler warning. I'll be going into heavy spoilers for this movie, so if you want to avoid that, then I personally recommend stopping here. I always appreciate it if you come back, but of course I understand if you don't. But if you proceed, then proceed at your own discretion. Anyway, let's dive right in. This story starts with us being introduced to our main character, Suzume Iwado. She's a 17-year-old girl who lives with her aunt, Tamaki Iwado, in a small town in Kyushu, Japan. While Suzume is on her way to school like usual, she meets a young man who's around college age. He asks her if there's any ruins around here, with Suzume pointing him towards an abandoned resort in the mountains. Her curiosity gets the better of her though, so she follows him shortly after to see what he's up to. Once there, she finds a door with nothing but a small stone statue and water surrounding it. She opens it and sees a beautiful dreamlike world beyond it. Suzume is actually familiar with it because she's had reoccurring dreams of it often. She tries to go through it, but seemingly nothing happens. Then she tries picking up the statue, but it turns into a living cat and scampers away. Justifiably so, Suzume runs away in abject horror and goes to school. Once at school, Suzume is talking to her friends during lunch before her attention is caught by what seems to be a fire coming from where she was at this morning. Only she can see it, however. Against her better judgment, Suzume runs back towards the ruins and finds the fire coming through the door and into Kyushu. The young man from earlier is trying to close the door so Kyushu doesn't suffer any more damage. While the normal citizenry can't see the fire, the damage is all too real. Suzume and the young man come together to close the door and lock it with a special key like it's Kingdom Hearts. Very quickly, I want to mention a couple things you guys should know before we continue. Number 1. The young man's name is Sota Munakata. He's here to make sure that the door stays locked so that what we saw doesn't happen again. His family lineage are known as closers, and this is their duty across Japan. Number 2. The fire that came through the door is known as a worm. If they get through fully, they fall on the earth, causing catastrophic earthquakes akin to a plate falling in Final Fantasy VII. Number 3. Suzume picking up the statue in turn removed the seal that was placed on the door, so they have to find the cat and return it to seal the door. And finally, number 4. The world beyond the door is known as the Ever After. Only deceased people can pass through it. It's a place unbound by time, which will be important later on. Suzume learns this after taking care of Sota's wounds at her house after the incident. While they're talking, the cat from earlier shows back up. He turns Sota into a chair and leaves. This is where the story truly begins because we now have a goal. Suzume and Sota have to go around Japan to find this cat so he can turn Sota back. I'll call the cat Daijin going forward. On the way, they have to close doors that Daijin's opening up in different spots. They start at Ehime, then they go to Kobe, and finally Tokyo. Along the way, they meet people that help them out, like Chika Amabe and Rumi Ninomiya. The worm in Tokyo is the biggest one yet and will cause the most damage if it drops. They need the keystone to stop it, but when Sota was turned into a chair, he effectively became Daijin's replacement as the keystone. So Suzume begrudgingly uses Sota as the keystone, leaving him stuck in the Ever After. Now we enter Act 2 of the film. Suzume sets out on a new goal: save Sota from his fate. La Méthode: find a way to release him from the Ever After. His grandfather gives Suzume information on how to do so. It turns out that the reoccurring dream Suzume was having wasn't a dream. She went through the Ever After when she was a kid, so she has to find that same door and use it to find and save Sota. The door presides in her hometown up in the Tohoku region. But she's not alone. Sota's friend Tomoya Serizawa, Daijin, and Suzume's aunt Tamaki go with her. Serizawa wants to help Sota while Tamaki begrudgingly agrees because she just wants Suzume to come back home. During the journey, they pick up Sadajin, Daijin's other half, so the group grows to 5. They barely make it to Tohoku after crashing the whip, but they make it nonetheless. Suzume and Tamaki take the lead on the search while Serizawa mourns his whip's demise. After searching and then finally remembering, Suzume manages to find a door and enter the Ever After. Here, her and the 2 cats fight against the last worm left, the one in Tohoku. Daijin yields and finally becomes the keystone, freeing Sota. Now reunited to defeat the worm and are ready to lock the door. But Suzume sees a child in the Ever After, a child version of herself that is. The Ever After isn't bound by time, so these events are happening concurrently in this plane. Let me explain this scene so it makes more sense. 5-year-old Suzume lost her mother in an earthquake in 2011. The poor girl wasn't able to heal properly and went looking for her, stumbling into the Ever After. Here we see 17-year-old Suzume comfort her and send her back. So this whole time she would experience this moment twice from 2 different perspectives. After sending her back to the normal world, 5-year-old Suzume is discovered by her aunt Tamaki. Then the next 12 years follow as normal. Now we go back to the 17-year-old Suzume, who sends her past self back and locks the door, returning to Japan with Sota in tow. Now with the journey over, Serizawa, Sota, Tamaki, and Suzume return to their respective homes after this long journey through Japan. Suzume and Sota go back to their normal lives, but the movie ends with the two reuniting on the same path they met at the start, bringing the journey to a close. And that's the story. Of course, understand that I left out a lot. This isn't an exhaustive summary, so watch the movie if you wish. But with that settled, let's move on to my thoughts. While I had high hopes that this movie would be good, I didn't know how good it would be. Like I said, I was mostly blind, so I didn't know what to expect from it. I'm glad to say though, that this movie surpassed what I could have imagined it to be. Let's start with the animation. It's phenomenal in every sense of the word. Of course, it's a movie, so the shorter runtime usually results in a higher quality product compared to a weekly anime. But I was still amazed by it despite that. The movements are so fluid and natural. These characters genuinely move like real people. The animation also gets flashy when it wants to, demonstrated by all the worm sections. But I believe the coloring takes the cake in the visual department. This movie is so colorful and vibrant. Not only does it show how beautiful Japan is, but the world that we live in, period. The cityscapes, the suburban and urban areas, the farmland, the ocean, the sky, and all the ruins all look so unique, giving each location we visited personality that it probably carries in real life as well. The Ever After, however, is otherworldly. It looks so heavenly and dreamlike that it's no surprise Suzume confuses playing for a dream. Anybody would. Comics Wave Films deserves applause for animating this beauty. As for the voice acting, it was pretty good. I like how the characters have different dialects depending on their region, like Chika having a country accent compared to Suzume and Sota. Little nuances like that add so much flavor to a character. Next we move on to the soundtrack, and I gotta say, it's pretty good, man. It's out on streaming services, and a lot of the tracks have millions of streams. I recommend checking it out if you haven't already, because it's just as good as the other aspects I mentioned earlier, especially if you watch the movie. One thing that could detract from your experience is the product placement. It's everywhere. If that bothers you, then I can't recommend it in good faith, but genuinely, it didn't detract from my experience, so I hope you still give it a chance. Now let's talk about the characters. I already mentioned how much personality this movie exudes in other sections, but the characters are the main contributor to that. Every single one of the main and side characters have unique personalities that contrast each other so well. Side characters like Chika, Rumi, Serizawa, and Tamaki's personalities are influenced by their past experiences, current experiences, and their current homes. So by extension, their actions and what they're motivated by are influenced by their personality. Like how Rumi helped out Suzume because she has kids so she can relate, or how Chika helps Suzume because she's nice and makes friends easily, to the point of even introducing her to her family. Or Tamaki and how she helps Suzume because she wants to protect her niece and make sure she's safe. Nuances like that help the characters feel more human. They feel like genuine people living their normal lives, helping a random girl because they want to and not because the story demands it. Of course, there's the main two in Sota and Suzume. As a pair, these two are adorable. At the start, we see them be formal and respectful towards one another because they don't know each other yet. But as the story progresses, they form a strong friendship throughout their short span of time together. How they treat each other at the start versus when they get to Tokyo is night and day. But what makes them such a good duo is how they operate separately. Sota's awesome because he's just a normal guy. He's polite, kind, well-mannered, and resilient. He embraces his family's job with dignity and fulfills it with honor. But as a chair, we see a more vulnerable side to him. We see a man who begrudgingly has to put a teenager in danger because he can't do anything as a piece of furniture. Through this, he learns to trust Suzume as she learns the ropes to his duty. Granted, I don't want to give the impression that he's useless as a chair. He comes in clutch, especially during the Tokyo section. His personality came out more as a chair, and it really enhances the character. Lastly, we have Suzume herself. I view Suzume as a reactionary character in the first half. She reacts to the situations presented to her and becomes a better character when paired with other people. But by herself, she's a normal teenager. While she chose to go after Sota, everything else after that was forced onto her until the second half of the film. But once the second half arrives, Suzume becomes a proactive character to the max. I like this version of her because the first half's influence on her is on full display. She's an amalgamation of the people she loves and the experiences she's been through. Now she's a stronger individual because of it. The interactions between the characters give me life too, like the car ride to Tohoku for example, or Chika and Suzume being teenagers together, or Rumi and her coworker eating with Suzume. Small moments like these aren't crucial to the story, but they make you care for these characters. It's the difference between a forgettable character and a character that people remember. Now let me delve into the story. This movie emphasizes that it's a coming of age story a lot. While at first I didn't notice it, it definitely became evident in the second half. This movie makes a relatable and impactful story through an unrelatable and fantastical premise. While the plot is fiction, the themes and the struggles the characters go through are not. Each character has a realistic issue, be it loneliness, pressure from familial expectations, or trauma from the past. Everyone experiences a realistic struggle that viewers can relate to. That's why when I finished this movie, I burst into tears. I was holding it together for an hour and 45 minutes, but the last 15 minutes broke me. And I can attribute all of this to Suzume herself. Learning that her mother passed away in a natural disaster is so real. It makes sense that a 5-year-old will compartmentalize that trauma to ease that pain. So unpacking at the end of the movie by having Suzume healing herself was utter therapy. The people she met and the journey she went on demonstrated that it's possible not only to move on from grief, but heal from it. To be able to forgive yourself, the people around you, and the world. To be able to smile for her mother. It's a beautiful theme. Suzume slowly healing was pure catharsis. It connected with me in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. While I can't say the same will happen to you, I can still enjoy the movie without that connection. This movie depicts the human experience in a genuinely amazing way. It's a prevailing theme throughout the entire film. The main story is simple and fun, but the themes behind it are complex and heartfelt, making for an amazing journey. This movie's a 9 out of 10, but it's teetering on masterpiece for me. I can't quite call it a masterpiece yet, but I don't blame anyone who does. Thank y'all for watching as always. Let me know what y'all think about Suzume in the comments. I know it's part of a trilogy, so I might check out the other 2 movies at a later date. I'm still streaming Steins Gate 0, so tune into that when I do. I got an ending recently, so if you want to see that, check out the playlist I have for the VODs. More videos on the way as always, so be on the lookout for that too. But if you want to see more content like this, check out the rest of my channel. The video before this one was a breakdown on why I love the visual novel Steins Gate, so give that a look if you're interested. Until then, hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
I like pizza, I like burger, I like chicken nugget.